Okay, I got the Megatronics, the electronic part back on the valve body that I just got back from Sonax. They remanufactured it. So I got it on. You just follow the two guide pins. There's a guide pin there and a guide pin there. It just slides on pretty easy. And then we have to flip it over to put the screws in. There's 6 screws that attach to the unit. It slides over the solenoids. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those screws in there now. Let's see here, yeah. And I'll be right back. Hand tightened all the screws to secure the valve body. Now I have the torque wrench and I'm going to torque it down. I'm just going to go, there's 1, 2, 3 bolts here, this side 3 on the back, so I'm just going to go back and forth, slowly start torquing them down. Okay, now we're just about to, there we go, click. Click. Okay, that one's set. That one's set. That one's set. Set. I'm just double checking them. Okay, they're all torqued to 70 inch-pounds. And don't forget about the 3 small ones here on the other side of the solenoid. Same thing. Two. Okay, the next is the from Megatronics, the ceiling sleeve. It has a, if you can see, it has a groove inside the middle of it. I believe that has to go at the 5 o'clock position. So I got a very tight very tight spot in here. Somehow I have to get it up and in there. Really gotta see where's the, try to turn it, there we go. There, I think that's it. Let me see, I'll check with the light. I think I got it. There we go. I think that's it. And then let me see if this might get all the way. The super tricky part was getting that sleeve. I don't know if you can kind of see where I am. I'm in the front corner of the transmission, and if I can get the light in there, you can see the sleeve. Yeah, there it is. There it is. So the sleeve goes in, and then you put the wire and you screw it back in. I had to take the exhaust bracket off to get to it, but then once that's in place, then you can push up the locking mechanism. That was a little difficult. I really had to play with the sleeve a little bit and wiggle this to get it back to lock in the position. Okay, so I got the new transmission pan in. All I did was, it's pretty easy to pop in. Now I'm just torquing the bolts down, going through each one of them. I did get new screws as well, so I'm just making my way through. And then I'll be back in a few minutes when the next step is to put the new transmission fluid in. Okay, now I'm ready to start putting the new transmission fluid in. I'm using a pump. This is the pump I'm using. It's actually a pretty good one. Schwaben, we use it for transmission as well as bleeding the brakes. I'll show you under the car where the fill spot is. Right here on the transmission, there's the plug there. As you can see, it's pretty tight quarters to get to. See if it's focused. There it is there. And as you can see, there's not a lot of room between the bolt and this bracket piece here. So, just to show you, you could use an 8mm Allen wrench, but my bolt was on super tight, so I had to use get an 8mm socket, hexagon socket. But what I ended up doing was, if you noticed, I got my angle grinder. I got a second one at Home Depot for $2. They sell them for $2 there. So I got a second one, and as you can see, I shortened it on my angle grinder. So the short one, when I put it in, the spot, there's going to be enough room, then I can get my wrench on it so I can break that bolt loose. Then what I did was, I got so close to almost stripping it out, I ordered a new transmission fill bolt to replace it. Then I'm gonna jack the back of the car up to make it level. As you can see, I got the two front tires on ramps. In the rear, I have a jack under here. If you can see it, I'm gonna start jacking that up some to raise, get the car more level. Bottle, some pressure in there. I'm gonna finish topping off my transmission. Let's see here. See, I got the spout open right there. Got in to release the valve. Let that flow until I start getting some fluid coming out of it. A few more pumps. And there we go. All right. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna, oops, sorry about the light. I'm gonna get the screw back in it real quick before more pours out. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to start the car for a few minutes, just to let some of the transmission fluid run through the transmission, turn it off, refill it, and then we'll go through the remaining topping off. And that completes the fill. I put, as you can see, 7 liters, put the 5 liter and 2 little bottles of fluid in there, so it's full. I took it for a test drive. Project complete. And last thing is to make sure you go in and reset the transmission adaptation, they call it, which I'll do in a separate video, but make sure you reset the transmission adaptations, and that completes it. And please like if you found some of this information useful.